Imagine your child spending years attending a specific parish, only to be told they now have to go somewhere else, attend a different program, and follow a different process just to receive confirmation. That's reportedly what's happening right now to families at a Latin Mass parish in Seattle. Let's go through the details. According to a message shared online by Father Martin Navarro, a parent from the Archdiocese of Seattle explained that their archbishop informed their parish, run by the priestly fraternity of St. Peter, known as the FSSP, that confirmations could no longer take place there. Instead, students would need to register at a different parish using the newer form of the Mass and complete a 2-year preparation program before receiving the sacrament. To understand why this is happening, it helps to look at some background. The FSSP is a community fully in communion with Rome, dedicated to celebrating the older traditional form of the Mass. However, the FSSP doesn't have its own bishops. Because of this, when their members need to be confirmed, the local diocesan bishop is usually the one who administers that sacrament. Until late 2021, FSSP parishioners could typically receive confirmation using the traditional rite found in an older liturgical book called the Pontificale Romanum. But after the Vatican introduced stricter limits on the traditional Latin Mass, an additional set of Vatican guidelines came out in December 2021, further restricting how traditional sacraments, including confirmation, could be celebrated. These guidelines specifically stated that bishops could no longer permit use of the Pontificale Romanum for confirmation or holy orders. That said, it's worth noting that some bishops elsewhere have still found ways to permit traditional rite confirmations for approved communities like the FSSP, showing that practices can vary from diocese to diocese. In this Seattle case, the situation seems to go a step further, not simply changing which ritual is used, but reportedly requiring students to complete an entirely new 2-year catechism class at a different parish altogether. For families who have been part of their FSSP community for years, this understandably raises real concerns. Parents in the original message even discussed whether preparation programs elsewhere would offer the same depth of catechesis their children were already receiving, and whether they might be permitted to prepare their own children instead. When LifeSite News reached out to the FSSP parish in Seattle for more information, the pastor, Father John Shannon, redirected the inquiry to FSSP headquarters. As of publishing, no official response had been provided. This story reflects a broader challenge many traditional Catholic communities have faced since 2021. Even when a parish and its priests are fully approved by Rome, they can still find themselves navigating extra layers of restriction that other parishes simply don't experience. For families deeply rooted in the traditional liturgical life of the Church, being asked to start over somewhere unfamiliar can feel less like routine paperwork and more like being pushed toward the margins of their own diocese. At the same time, it's fair to acknowledge that bishops are working within Vatican guidelines that are still evolving, and every diocese is handling this differently. So, here's a question we're thinking about. Should approved traditional communities like the FSSP be given more consistency and stability when it comes to sacraments like confirmation? Share your thoughts in the comments. This is a story worth following closely, as more families are affected by these ongoing changes.